On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think you're getting monitored now versus before you started this project?
I don't know. I started playing Pokemon Go, so I'm probably getting monitored a lot more. I actually haven't started playing Pokemon.
Do you believe Pokemon Go is NSA?
No, I don't. I don't think that at all. But I do think it is worth thinking about how these private companies, whether it's Pokemon Go, Google, Facebook, they're not just leaving that information on the table. They're selling it. That's why those companies are so profitable, is because they take all this information that's generated by us and they sell it. I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, but it is worth thinking about, and it's something a lot of us don't really think about. We just kind of check the box and we don't even really think about it. So I'm glad to be here, sort of having these conversations, and to me that's sort of that's the service that Edward Snowden did. Whether you agree that mass surveillance is a bad thing, or you think that mass surveillance is a good thing, I think there's actually valid points on both sides of that argument. But what's good is that we're having the discussion, because before Snowden made his disclosures, that discussion was not happening.
Now, what is it like playing a character where you have an encapsulated story, but there's so many question marks of what's to happen still?
Yeah, well, the thing is, so this movie is really about the 10 years of his life leading up to the disclosures that he made. It's less about what happened afterwards, because as you say, that story is very much still in progress. But the story of his life is a fascinating drama, and something a lot of people don't know. Snowden himself, he often says, it shouldn't be about me, this isn't about my personal story, let's talk about the issues. This movie does make it about him. It's his personal story. And it's a fascinating one. It has all the elements of a great drama. 10 years prior, not 9 years prior to doing what he did, in 2004, Snowden enlisted in the US Army to go fight in Iraq because he just wanted to serve his country no matter what. Whether that war was right or wrong, he didn't ask. He just wanted to go. So transitioning from that, he couldn't fight in the Army because he broke both of his legs in basic training, was discharged. He was good at computers, so he ended up, getting a job at the CIA and the NSA, and that's where he started seeing these things like, this is not what the country is about, at least according to him. This is against the Constitution, and no one's talking about this. And when people are trying to talk about it, the government's telling lies about it. The truth is the government flat out lied to the people about the existence of these programs, but no one could prove that they were lying until Snowden provided that evidence. So all that to say, it's a fascinating drama leading up to the disclosures. You're right, we'll kind of have to see what happens next.
Does this movie help you define what you want your privacy to be, or how you would like to live kind of in your own private life?
I think me personally, is that what you mean? I mean, for me personally, that's something that that's not to me what this movie is about. I mean, I have opinions about privacy and about all of that stuff for sure. But this is a movie, I think, that engages the public about what is our right to privacy, our constitutional right to privacy, and if our government is going to step across that line, then I feel like it's about the right that we have to know that, and the responsibility that we have to stand up and fight for that right. And that's what I think motivated Snowden. I think what the information that he released to the American public represents. The common and dangerous way of thinking is like, well, I don't mind if it's protecting us. I don't have anything to hide, and it's only the people that have something to hide that need to be worried. But the reality is that you might not have something to hide now, but what if you adopt an adversarial position down the line, or the definition of what is supposed to be hidden changes, and then there's this whole cache of information that people have about what your particular relationship online is and with whom you're cultivating those relationships. And that's the dangerous thing, and that's the thing that's very socially relevant and important to all audiences and to people in the world today, and I think that's what the movie's dealing with.
Now, did you ask yourself, the same question he ultimately asked, and putting out the information, did you ask yourself, would I take that step? Would I have taken that step?
I don't think I was in a position to ask myself that question, to be honest with you, because I was coming at it from the other side of it, which is playing Glenn Greenwald, who's the journalist that Snowden and Laura Poitras reached out to help them facilitate the sharing of this information. So for me, it was about would I have stepped up to the plate and helped. And I'd like to think I would. You know, Glenn, I have a tremendous amount of respect for. He is an unimpeachably intelligent man who stands firmly on his beliefs and is a truly adversarial journalist in the sense that he wants to hold government accountable for overreach and does so in a way that's really driven by a true integrity. So I feel like I hope I could rise to that level of integrity myself.
In this day of technology and the amount of information we just give over, like, do you recognize that when that happens? I mean, whether it's Facebook or Pokemon Go, you know, the amount of things you're giving out.
I think it's a tricky question because yes, you are putting that information out there, but are you putting that information out there? If you're just living a life, but you don't actually know that information could come back to haunt you, would you still put it out? I don't know if I'm articulating the way I want to articulate it, but yes, you're putting things out there, but are you expecting people to abuse that power? Are you expecting people to abuse your privacy? And to me, that's what this movie answers. This movie is educational and informative, but it's not preachy. It's not drowning in the opinion of Edward being this way or perceived that way. It just gives you the facts, and I think that's an important thing. Obviously, it's a dramatization and whatnot. But.
Right. Now, with your character, how did you find the action for someone who was reactionary to the things that were kind of coming towards her? You know, all the things that he kind of might have known, but the wave that ended up growing to in that sense.
Yeah, well, he was an amazing man, and he kept her very protected. She didn't know what was happening when he decided to release that information, which protected her in the end. But I just always think I played a character. I pretended to walk in the shoes of a woman who actually did walk in those shoes and who still has to be who is still a part of this story. And it takes a lot of courage and bravery. At least I'm an actor. I knew these kinds of interviews were going to happen, right? Something happened in her life because of the person she was in love with where she didn't sign up for it. She didn't sign up to have interviews. She didn't sign up to have the public and mass media strip her apart and investigate who she is as an individual. I have a lot of respect for her. I think she's navigated this chaos really beautifully and with so much courage and strength and resilience.